Thomas Anfield rose to national prominence as a graffiti artist called Pablo Fiasco. His scribbling got him a scholarship at the New York Academy of Arts and propelled his creative self to dance and make murals, paintings, and a monkey business art show inspired by sock monkeys. It is my pleasure to welcome Thomas Anfield to Studio 4 to tell us more. Marnie Jackson tells me that you're really interesting. She talked to you in the green room. She said, "Your next guest, really interesting."
Oh, what a kind lady. Fantastic.
Well, anybody who likes sock monkeys has to be interesting.
Yes. Yes, they're very revealing.
And why sock monkeys? How did this happen?
Well, I've been a figure painter for my whole life and done a very classical route and did, dissection of the body and used to teach portrait painting, that kind of thing. But I'd always paint sock monkeys on the side, usually around Christmas time. I would do little small ones and gifts and things. And they just started to keep developing and take center stage. But what I found really interesting was the emotional content that I wanted to portray seemed to be easier to get across with the puppets. And then, for example, last year I had a lovely show, and Alex Vardy did a nice review in the Georgia Straight where he pointed out if the characters were people, it would have been quite saccharine. But because they were monkeys, they took on a dark humor. That was really...
Okay, and if you painted a dark piece with monkeys, would it seem darker, do you think, or not quite as dark, or could we accept it? You know how when you have a piece of art that's very dark and you walk by and you go, oh.
Absolutely. No, I think it brings up I think it's much easier to accept, and it's a little more satirical, and you see the humor, the dark humor.
Sure.
In it, yeah.
Well, monkeys spur our imaginations.
Yeah, well, we are
Don't
monkeys.
You think? We are monkeys, sometimes.
Well, as people, say, oh, we're, the Darwinian philosophy, which I believe, that,
right.
we come from apes, but a lot of us forget we are primates still. We haven't changed from being primates. We are primates. So.
And most everybody likes a monkey.
Oh, absolutely. Because they represent our mischievous self, and they have a royal quality to them.
They do.
They do.
Did you have a sock monkey growing up?
Oh, yes, quite a few.
Quite a few.
Yes.
So this didn't just start as an adult.
No, but we've been collecting them for years, and they keep showing up.
Keep showing up. Do you spend a lot of time posing the monkeys before, because they're so flexible? I would think that you spend a lot of time getting it right before you paint.
I do, and I found with the sock monkeys, they say in art, less is more. And I found that if I overwork them, then they become, realistic painting of a doll, which is not that exciting. But if they stay fresh, then I think they have a lot more power. And so, yeah, I spend a lot of time setting them up, and they're on strings in my studio. And
oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
So when you do something like monkeys in shoeboxes,
yes,
I doubt they stay perfectly.
They're pretty good.
Are they? They don't yump out?
No, no. And, there's a famous Cézanne quote where he had a model in his studio and he yelled at her, does an apple move? And so they're a bit like the apple,
Well, and you started painting figures, nudes and others, I'm sure, to get it all right, and with live models.
Yes.
And it inspires the monkey series, sort of.
Yes.
Mixed couples.
Yeah, well,
what does it mean to you, the mixed couple?
Well, I think...
Because there's deeper meaning, always.
There is, and I think we sometimes forget in Vancouver how lucky we are at the fact that we have so many mixed couples, mixed marriages, mixed people, in all sorts of ways, including, racially or sexual orientation, all that. And these are all our friends. We all take it for granted. But in other parts of the world, people live difficult situations for that.
Monkeys leaving the office.
That was actually inspired by Ad Men, and thinking back about that whole 60s world, and the idea. My father, I better be careful what I say about my lovely father, but he used to refer to his office workers as the girls, which no one says that anymore. But so there's something, I'm playing around a little bit with that mythology.
A little madmen, a little ad men, a little ad girls, so to speak. And the travelers?
Travelers could be any group of people traveling anywhere, and just that idea of the human journey, the idea of exodus or movement, and and within the paintings there's always these people that are supporting each other and or leading each other.
And monkeys drinking.
Well, at a certain point you have to paint what you know. And sitting around a table having a drink is a social activity I quite like.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I like belling up to the odd bar too.
Yes.
Yes, that's the social painting, the monkeys drinking, monkey on a couch.
That one's just playful and, you know, I've never actually been on the couch, so.
Well, but if you,
I know lots of people who.
If I was a psychiatrist, how great to have that in your office.
Yes, I think so.
Wouldn't it be? Because you could kind of break the ice.
I think so.
Yeah, monkey on a couch.
Yeah.
Why not? Okay, your artistic path, really interesting. You started as a graffiti artist. Where, how, when?
Well, I actually started as a fine artist.
Oh, a fine artist before graffiti.
I did, and I went to the New York Art Students League.
Right.
It's a fantastic school, and while I was there, Keith Haring was just coming out of the subways. So when I first went there, he was still doing the chalk drawings on the black paper in the subways.
Wow, the Keith Haring.
The Keith Haring, and just actually met him and Yoko Ono once.
No, I interviewed Yoko Ono, but I never met Keith Haring.
Yeah, I used to work at the Shakespeare Festival, and they
great.
came to the gate and said, "I think we're on the guest list." And Yoko Ono proceeded to tell me her name, and I went, "Actually, I know who you are. Come on in."
Is John alive or dead at that point?
I guess he had passed away.
I guess he was gone.
Yeah, it's a shame, but.
Yeah.
And so when I was there, I saw that, and also graffiti. There were some really great graffiti artists that were doing things and being accepted by the gallery world, so they were having those shows. But when I came back here, I started doing these things. But I never considered myself a graffiti artist in the sense of relating to hip-hop culture or anything like
right.
that. I liked the original graffiti, which came out of the Latin culture of mural painting and Mexican mural painting. And so that's sort of where I came from. And I also, you know, I went out of my way to paint on buildings that were derelict and stuff. I never went around and tagged people's stuff. You know, I'm not into that.
You weren't a guerrilla.
No, not particularly. No, I put out like a sign, put my name on it and stuff. You know. So.
Of course,
Yeah.
painting by, mural by.
Yeah.
Pablo Fiasco.
Yeah.
Are they still around the city? Some of your murals.
I don't think there is now, but there's been some recently. Now, I did work with Richard Tetron like on the murals on the Raycam Community Center, and so there's a few bits and pieces kicking around.
Do you miss it?
Mural painting?
Yeah.
Yeah, my whole life has been a series of taking different routes, and they come back on each other, and so it's not something I think I won't do again.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so one route you took, the music route. The guitar route. Are you in a band, or is that just for fun?
It's sort of just for fun, and I'm always very concerned with certain terms like musician, because I think a musician is a trained musician who can read and play music and interpret other people's music, whereas I'm more of a soundscapist, and I make noises and sounds. And so I make all the soundtracks for our Buto performances, for example. Yes. And but I am playing at the Western Front. They have a workshop, the New Orchestra Workshop's doing a workshop right now, and there's a concert on. I think it's December 4th. Yeah, it's all free improvisers. Yeah, it's really great.
That will be great. And can you hang the odd sock monkey picture?
Well, maybe I
if
could.
If you're allowed, you could.
I probably could.
You could. Now tell me about Buto. Where it's a collective adventure, isn't it? What is Buto?
Well, Buto is an art form, dance form. It started in Japan in the late 50s, early 60s by Hachikata. And it's very underground and considered rather sort of dark and dirty, at least in the original days in Japan. And it was originally called Ankoko Buto, excuse my Japanese, the dance of death and dance of darkness. And I think it came out of Hiroshima and those feelings. It was a real rejection of Western culture. And
so taboo topics?
Usually,
specifically, kind of a little absurd?
Sexual, you know, definitely dark. And, but over the years, it's changed quite a bit. And the world's most famous company now, Sankai Juko, who traveled the world, and of course, people remember the poor guy who fell off a building and passed away.
Yes.
And so their work, very beautiful. And when we took it, I saw it like jazz music, you know, where to be, in my opinion, to be a jazz musician now is not to play like Charlie Parker, but to be a creative musician. And so I took it as, and also in a workshop, they were talking about the roots of Buto. And Hachikata loved Francis Bacon, he loved Egon Schiele, and German Expressionism, which are all my favorite things. So I was like, oh, it's a human 21st century art form. A bit trippy, really. A bit, you know, when you read this stuff, they're kind of like old hippies.
Right.
And so I thought, oh, we can do our own version, because it's about dancing from your inner feeling.
And is it, when I say modern dance, is it slow and controlled?
Very, very slow. The movement is based from imagery and internal imagery as opposed to choreography. Generally, depending on, there's so many versions of it now.
Right.
And
so how long would it take somebody to get it, to be able to perform? Is that what it's called? Perform Butoh?
Yeah.
Butoh is beautiful.
Yeah, Butoh is beautiful. It's physically, it's a lot of hard work, and I do qigong and tai chi to sort of stay in that place of keeping my
very
legs
centered.
very centered, very low to the earth, and very slow.
Right. I've never seen it. I don't think I've seen it. Do they sometimes? Are they all white?
Yes, Kokoro dance.
Kokoro dance is
our most famous. That's who I learned from.
Okay, so Kokoro is Butoh.
Absolutely. Well, they're a Butoh slash modern dance company, and one of the reasons that when I was working with them, and the person I danced with, Kevin Bergsma, so our company Butoh Go-Go, we both met in Kokoro dance, and they had at that time sort of two groups, what I would call a public group and a private group, or a more professional. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and haunting, exquisite, really.
Absolutely.
And some of the movements, it seems to me, are a bit lumbering. You know, powerful but strong, kind of martial arts-like.
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm on that.
Yeah.
Now take me back to the monkeys. To the monkeys. Yeah, to your studio, where you put all this together.
Yeah.
What's your process?
Well, it usually starts with some kind of a sketch or an idea of what I'm going for, and then I just get things out and start to push them and move them around, and I just wait for that thing that makes me go, oh, that interests me, that excites me, that little click, you know.
Okay.
But when I'm working, I listen to a lot of lectures, you know, on YouTube or something. Just listen to them, and so I'm really interested in neuroscience and this idea of top down, bottom down thinking. And there's a part of your brain that connects with faces, and so I started to realize that if, for example, I see you on the street, my brain goes face, and then it goes up to the top, and you know, I'm not a neuroscience, so take this for what it's worth. But then you come down through your levels of your brain, figuring out who is this I'm looking at. But with the puppets, you don't have to, you get it right off the top, so you're sort of into the meat of the project immediately, and I find that really exciting.
How great. And I'm sure you have your favorites.
Of the monkeys? Or
of the monkeys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we all did as kids.
Yeah.
The little ones, the big ones. Do people send you monkeys just because they know this is what you do and they want their monkey in a painting?
They do. Not too much. And I do preference the older ones and traditional ones. There's a lot you can buy, like made monkeys now, but they don't have quite the charm.
No, like the old work socks.
Yeah.
You can still buy those work socks, I think.
Yes.
So, and my granny could make those monkeys. I didn't ever have that skill.
Yeah, and then you know the various types of facial work that people do on them and stuff. I do find them when I'm working on them, and maybe this is a little something that comes from performance, is you have to make the face that you want the monkey to express. So if you're painting one and you want it to have that little, you have to actually physically do that while you're painting it. Ooh, and then it works. You know? Yeah, I think so.
And then the monkey does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
whatever you say, Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to do these large stuffed dummies. I have this big Raggedy Ann, defrocked Raggedy Ann, and I would put her in, my wife collects antique dresses, and so I'd put her in these dresses and paint these dresses, and did very well with those. And but one summer, I had this little summer dress, and I set her up in a funny pose, and as I was painting the picture, I kept thinking to myself, it's Blanche Dubois.
Oh, why not? Very clever. We have to go. We're out of time. I hate this, but we are. Thomas Anfield will be at Petley Jones Gallery, his work, until October 30th. And tomorrow, the enthusiastic diva from Gourmet Warehouse, Karen McSherry, whirls in to whip up a delightful dish out of a can of beans. And hello, sweetheart, gimme rewrite. BC Sports Hall of Fame scribe Jim Taylor returns to reflect on his life in the wonderful world of sport and on his many columns. And Masquerade, fashion historian Ivan Saris brings in some beautiful costumes from the 20s and 30s. Thanks for watching Studio 4. Lots more on Shaw TV, only on Shaw TV.